What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Tournament Tactics. NFL Week 17 tournament approaches for DraftKings and FanDuel. This is where we're going to break it down, get ready for the Week 17 slate. We got a big one, guys. We're back to having a lot of games, but weirdly, we got a lot of games, but not a lot of good games at all. A lot of gross games, a lot of low-scoring games. We're going to make sense of it. I really like the way this week sets up. And, of course, with me, as always, we've got the tournament pivot man himself, the leverage factor, Josiah. I got multi-time Millie Maker winner, Bobby Moneybags, a.k.a. BobbyWow. What would BobbyWow do? Fade the chalk, I unfriend you. And, of course, the Shark Lab himself, a man who spends more time studying Millie Maker winners than I do studying hot chicks on Instagram, which is a lot. Burns. All right, let's get into it, guys. Bobby, that's a lot of time spent studying Millie Maker winners.
Already,
it's a lot of time. All right, let's get into the slate, guys. And I've got the Domination Station Optimizer from DFS Army up on the screen because I want to point out some of these game totals. They're really bad. They're really low. Crazy. And really there's only two games that even stand out at all. So let's just understand this, because it looks like a big slate to me, but I think it's a small slate. I think there's only a couple games that are even mildly interesting, and everything else we can stay away from like crazy. I mean, 41 points, Falcons, Arizona, Cardinals, weird ass quarterback coming in. I don't know who's quarterbacking for that team at this point. Trace McSorley. Who's their quarterback? McSorley?
I think Colt McCoy's back.
No, he's hurt again. He's out.
Again?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I just heard
I thought he was coming back.
No, Trace McSorley week. Again, that dude has more interceptions than completions. He's horrible.
I want to say that's the only game with literally nothing to play for.
Nothing to play for is fine, though. That's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. Just making a note of it.
Not going to not play. There is a player in that game that I'm interested in, though. One player with Algier. All right, so the big game of the week, guys. Yeah. Oh, David Blow. That's right. Oh,
stop it. Oh my. He's still around.
Yeah, it's Blow. Yeah, that's right. Even worse. Oh my goodness. Right.
Defense.
So, that's right. Falcons defense. Yes, they're on my sheet. So the games that look interesting. You've got this Lions-Bears game. Indoors, winter. Lions, Bears defense, horrible. 52-point total. That is the game to target this week across the board. Forget D-Hop. It doesn't even matter. Once it was David Blow, anything else related to that team just became irrelevant. Right? Now, an interesting one here. Jaguars at the Texans. 43-point total, low total game, but there's some interesting angles for that one that I want to explore as we break these games down and look at the quarterback position. You've got an absolute blowout game here with KC just at home, ready to destroy, Russell Wilson and crew. Not sure, and that's another one I want to talk to you, Bobby Wow. I want to talk to you, Burns, about Mahomes and what you do in these situations. Good defense, but horrible opponent that can't score. Teddy Bridgewater helming the Dolphins doesn't look that great. 41-point total. Giants game, 39-pointer. Somehow Daniel Jones is the chalk. What is happening? What? Is that real? We'll see if that's real.
It's real.
I hope it's real. I really do. I fucking hope so. Don't know who's going to be the quarterback for the Eagles, but I'm interested in whoever that is, but I don't know who it's going to be right now. I'm just going game by game here. You don't really play Tom Brady as a DFS play at this point. That is just a bad scene. So, there's just not that many games here that stand out. Then we have, of course, this Packers-Vikings game, and I think that's maybe some false hope. It's a little bit of like, oh, another big game. Or is it?
Hopium.
Oh, so good. Yeah, I don't know about that. So with all that being said, that's it. 35-pointer Ravens, you don't want to touch this. 42. I mean, paying up for Herbert. Has he not destroyed enough season-long fantasy football teams already this season? Do we need to let him ruin our DFS teams?
Hey, I still have a championship team with him. Let's calm down.
How on earth did you get to the championship?
It's a 2 QB league. I have Patrick Mahomes and him. So
okay, because I'm like, how did you manage that? That is crazy good. All right, so I've got the Dom station sorted by ownership, and this is going to show you, at least right now, early in the week, what the field is looking at for the quarterback position. Let's start at the top. And I think Jared Goff makes sense as the top overall QB play, as crazy as that seems. Burns, how do you think, how do you kind of, what's your take on the general QB position and some of these names that we're seeing here? I mean, Daniel Jones and Aaron Rodgers in the top ownership group, and what? That's the chalk. Aaron Rodgers hadn't had a good game all season, not one.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers he's chalky because of the line. If you look at the line, it's highly favoring him to have a good game. Minnesota's secondary is terrible. The wide receivers are going to have their way with Minnesota secondary. So that's why he is being the chalk play right now. It's all DVOA related. But yeah, he could have his Aaron Rodgers game. It'd be the only game he has all season this season in this game being a divisional game, but I don't see it. If it was in Minnesota, it would be a better game in the dome with no weather issues.
That's what I was thinking. Outdoors in the frozen tundra.
Yeah.
Likely to lean heavy on the run.
It's a running game this week with them.
I mean, I think we all agree. So there's some weird chalk here going on. So let's talk about who we do like.
Warm, guys. It's summer. It's summer in Chicago and Minnesota now. It's like 40 degrees.
It is a nice day where I am as well, by the way. I just went for a walk.
Everyone's out wearing shorts here. I'm not even kidding.
Went for a beautiful walk. All good. My neighbors were outside walking around. It's crazy. But all right, so let's talk about some of these quarterbacks. And let's start at the top here of the chalkboard. And BobbyWow, Jared Goff, coming off as chalk this week, 17% owned, but they're indoors against Chicago. Why not?
And he's cheap. Yeah, I don't mind it one bit. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. He's been really good, like exceptionally good this season. So the Bears are missing their entire starting defensive unit for the most part, outside of a couple of their good rookies. So Jared Goff should be able to have whatever he wants.
Burns, Goff is a home favorite, 29-point team total.
Yep.
Is there anything not to like here?
No. I think it's setting itself up for an amazing game for Goff and company, especially with Amon-Ra and Shark. I love those two pairing up with Goff this week. I think Jamal Williams is actually going to be in this game. So
unfortunate.
Yeah. Earlier in the week, I was kind of hoping that he would be out because then we could get a Swift game. But with Swift being 5.3K would have been awesome as a pivot off of some of these 5.3K guys that are going to go high owned this week at the running back position. But oh well, we can't have it all.
Wait till you hear about my favorite running back.
I know who your favorite running back.
I like the cheap running backs, don't you?
Yeah, it's probably in that Atlanta Arizona game.
It might be, but it might not be. I got a different game.
I got one that just came up today. As soon as the news broke, it is like I was like, "Yep."
I know who it is too because that's who I'm thinking of. I don't want to spoil it. Not spoilers.
No spoilers.
Yeah.
Josiah, would like Jamal Williams be the ultimate leverage off of Jared Goff here? It's just like, you know what?
Yeah, I mean, Jamal Williams has been the crutch of my season. Like I've been playing Jared Goff all season, and you see Jamal Williams running touchdown after touchdown after touchdown. So yeah, I mean, Jamal Williams is super viable on this slate. Let alone the Bears haven't been great against the run, which is why you are tempted to play Swift on this slate. So, I mean, I think he's definitely viable on this slate.
Yeah,
for sure.
Just an interesting leverage play because this chalk. Burns, has it ever happened that like a 17 or 18% owned quarterback took down a Millie Maker? Because I believe you told me that there's a certain threshold by which it hasn't surpassed a certain number.
We have seen it this year a couple of times.
We have.
Yeah, I think one of the times was when Fields went off. Maybe his third time he went off or second time he went off this year, and he was really high owned. 17.5, 18% or more. So, yeah, we've seen it. Mahomes has also been in it too.
That works out when that works out when you're Justin Fields and you go off for 40 fantasy points. Like, who cares that you were chalk? That was a 43-point week. So, all right. Speaking of Fields, BobbyWow, you're the Fields whisperer. You've been on Fields sooner than anyone this season. When I laughed at you, I'm embarrassed. By the way, I got rid of the Gardner Minshew. Wife could not deal with it at all. I had to, the Fu Minshew had to go. But BobbyWow. So what about Justin Fields this week? I mean, he's got the ultimate matchup at Detroit, high scoring game. Not a whole lot of weapons to work with, but who cares? He'll figure it out. No?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Justin Fields clearly doesn't need weapons to put up a good score. Hopefully that changes next season. But he's put up good scores with, I mean, some of the worst wide receiving units that we've seen. And so, yeah, I think Fields is a great play. He'll be chalky, which is unfortunate. Yeah. But I'm really interested to see if Chase Claypool comes back, because I think this is the week that connection hooks up a little bit more.
Let's go.
Mean, he's got to throw to someone. You guys really like Claypool? I've
just been wanting to play Claypool all season, so I'm looking for a reason to.
I'm looking for a reason. I feel like everybody's going to stack Fields with Cole Kmet, and that's going to be such a common stack that it's like, can I not do that? I don't want to do that in every Fields lineup. That's really what I'm thinking about, is like, how do I not stack him with Cole Kmet? I don't want him with all the Cole Kmet. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's a fine stack too. I don't think Kmet will end up that highly owned, but I really am interested in the Claypool stack this week. If you are going to stack Fields, I don't think you even have to stack him, but that's where I'll be. I'm going to have some Fields Claypool stacks to get a little more unique.
If Claypool plays, which we don't know. Burns, any thoughts on the Fields QB approach other than good thoughts? I mean, he's not a favorite.
No, he's not a favorite, but he's in a great spot against Detroit. Detroit's been giving up a lot of points when they're at home. Even when they're on the road, they're still giving up a lot of points. I mean, look at what Sam Darnold did against them. It's crazy, right? So, yeah, I see Fields as having an amazing game this week, and he can do it with his feet, and he's always done it with his feet this year. And then he gets some 150 yards through the air, but he's got 2 touchdowns on the ground, right? So he's getting his 30 plus into the 40s because of it. Yeah, and I don't really even think you need to stack him. I think you can go naked with him all day long. But I do like Cole Kmet this week, I think, because of the fact that Detroit is very susceptible to the tight ends. Cole Kmet is a very good spot this week, especially because Fields does target him. And he targets him in the red zone a lot. So I do like that pairing this week if you wanted to have a stack with Fields. And if you want, because the WRs are so abysmal for Chicago this year, they just haven't gotten it right. And so, if Chase Claypool does come back, it should help Fields give him offset that with Kmet. So it'll take a target share away from, or actually takes some of the defense off of Kmet. So, yeah.
Are you guys worried about Fields' foot injury at all? Like, I mean, it's not on injury report or anything. I know he left the game for a little bit. No worries with it?
I'm not at all. I think the Bears training staff has been really, really intentional about making sure that they don't do long-term damage. I think that's goal number 1. So if he's playing, it's because he's fully healthy.
Nice.
And on that same note, Bears, Josiah, obviously have nothing to play for, but I don't think they have anything to not play for either. They're going to play out the game, and they want to have wins at the end of a season, have momentum. That's how those coaching, and they want to keep getting their young QB more and more reps. They can't hurt. It's experience. So, yeah, I think they're going to play it out. So, I like the Fields play a lot. I actually think he's expensive. That's the thing with Fields. But, there's a lot of salary available this week. So, there's a couple other QBs, and I want to go around the room now because there aren't very many, I think, viable QBs left on this slate. I don't even know how to deal with the Eagles situation other than to say I like whoever their quarterback is.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I like Hurts a lot less than I like Gardner Minshew. Is that crazy?
No.
Maybe.
The reason is because primarily running quarterbacks like Hurts,
It's crazy.
It is crazy, right?
It is crazy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that crazy? You could say it's crazy, but I have my reason, and the reason being, it's the salary difference, but much more so for me. And I don't think Hurts will play. So I like Minshew and Kanger, of course, with the news. If Hurts plays, these running quarterbacks don't tend to run the crazy legs running that we like coming off an injury. They just don't do it. So we might get a cautious Hurts, which I don't like one bit. But what I do like is Gardner Minshew auditioning to be the next quarterback of whatever the hell teams he's going to have his choice next year of, because there's like 7 viable quarterbacks in the NFL today and about 23 that are going to lose their jobs. So, or that should lose their jobs, right? So Gardner Minshew's going all out to ball out, and I love him. But let's go around the room here, and Josiah, I'll start with you. Outside of these top 2 chalk guys, Fields and Goff, where are you going next at the QB position?
Man, you wanted to start off feeling sick, didn't you? I like Russell Wilson against the Chiefs. I think he's a solid shot. He scored 26 points last time against them, and I had him on my sheet, so I'm fine with it.
He was my guy too. Let's go,
my other guy. Ever since Christian McCaffrey has been on the 49ers, any quarterback you have on this team is viable in my mind. So for me, it's Wilson and Purdy as my guys who aren't chalky. I like Minshew too.
That is not what I was expecting.
I told you
at all. I love it. That is super off the radar for me. Although not so much. I mean, Purdy is in the discussion here, but oh wow, is that off my radar? Good stuff. BobbyWow, you were agreeing. What are you looking at the QB position?
Russ is my favorite.
What?
He's my favorite play outside of these main guys.
Serious? Can I tell you that I have Russ starting in a really expensive championship because Tua got hurt, and I'm like, oh no, I got to start this turd. And you guys are like doing this on purpose with your money.
He's as cheap as it gets. He is in a great position. And look, I think Russ feeds off the guys around him. It's been crazy. All the wide receivers, tight ends, all his teammates have been coming out this past week talking about how awesome Russ is. I think he comes out and puts up big numbers again.
You think it's the coach was fired in that spike game that they have after the firing?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's easy to stack. I know Judy's questionable at this point. I think Judy plays, and I think it's a really interesting spot. He will probably be, I don't know, my 4th highest exposure quarterback.
My mind is exploding.
So I'm all the way with you, Josiah.
Holy shit.
Love it.
All right, give me another one, BobbyWow.
Oh my gosh. Well, he was my primary guy.
He can be yours too. I'll take Purdy.
Yeah, I don't know. I go back and forth with Aaron Rodgers because he's been so awful. But my gut keeps saying, hey, you should at least consider him this week. Yeah. I really, really, really like Lazard. He's one of my favorite wide receiver options. And so, based on that, it just makes a little bit of sense for Rodgers to be in there. So I would say I'm leaning toward having some decent interest in Rodgers as well. I know.
What a weird slate. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers and freaking Russell Wilson, and people. I already know the hate that's going to come through in the comments. Like, you guys are giving shitty picks on purpose. It's not on purpose. Listen, Minnesota defense has been the defense to go to have fantasy heroics as an opposing offensive play. It's happened all year. You mentioned it's even the shittiest of quarterbacks. Sam Darnold went crazy against these guys. All the worst quarterbacks have their good games when they face the Vikings. Sorry, DFS up north. We love you. But it's nothing I can do. Right? But Burns, who you got at the quarterback position? Not the ones that Wow and Josiah just talked about.
Well, I do agree with Josiah on Brock Purdy at the start of the week. I was all over him. Here, the reason why is that Las Vegas is just atrocious. Brock Purdy has actually shown some chemistry with Kittle, and it actually just came down on the wire that Deebo Samuel is going to be out for this game.
That's his
So
bike.
Kittle, fire him up. And then actually, to tell you the truth, I think the best pairing with Birdie this week is going to be Ayuk. He's going under the radar very heavily right now. He's about 5% owned. He is going to go off. And so I think it's him and CMC with Purdy this week, if you wanted to do that way, because Kittle will be owned. Now that Deebo Samuel's out, I think people are waiting to hear for that news that having Samuel out, and now they're just going to gravitate to Kittle. It's been a great pairing between the two of them for the last 2 weeks. But if I'm going to go different than Bobby and Josiah, I'm going to Trevor Lawrence in what looks to be an on-paper disaster matchup with him and his WRs. Houston has been pretty decent against the wide receiver position this year, but I don't believe that I think they're a paper bag defense, and I think that you can pair Trevor Lawrence again with Ingram in this matchup, and you can have an explosion from Ingram again. They're all going to play. So is an Etienne. So let it rip with the Jacksonville Jaguars in this game, in this contest, especially with Etienne. They're just terrible against the running back position. I love Lawrence in this one. Is he going to score 30 plus in this one? Who knows? But he's got the potential to do it. I also really like I know we hate him right now because his ability to score fantasy points has sucked for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And I mean suck. But he is going to be doing a lot of checkdowns this week, and it's Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert to Eckler this week is a huge stack that is going to fly significantly under the radar because everybody's going to be going to CMC at $500 more, and Eckler will be the benefactor to this at much lower ownership.
I have one more too, and you're not going to like it. It's Tom Brady. I know he's been awful this season, but J.C. Horn, my guy, is going to miss this game, and all the rest of our secondary is all absolutely awful. And so Chris Godwin, Mike Evans in great matchups, and Tom Brady should benefit from that somehow.
Listen, this is all bonkers because it's a 13-game slate, and we're talking about these quarterbacks that have it's week 17. We're not week 3 or 4. We're talking about a lot of quarterbacks. And by the way, this is just how the slate worked out. It's really weird, right? There's not a lot of good spots, and it's like, holy shit, we're talking about freaking Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, all guys who have been terrible most of the year, which is weird, and it's fascinating to me. I do have some spots I do like this week quite a bit, and it's funny that they're really different from what you guys just put out. So one thing I want to address, the Trevor Lawrence thing, Burns, I really like that call. So early in the week, I was thinking the Jaguars don't have much of anything to play for. Will they rest them a little bit? Is there danger? And as the week rolled on, and there is a little something. There's like a 10% chance that they could still get in the playoffs, even with a loss next week, with a win and some other weird shit. Already, that's enough of a reason. All right, now they're going to play it out. But the other thing is, why wouldn't they play it out? Basically, if you're gonna rest player, they have to. The situation for the Jaguars is they beat the Titans next week, they're locked in and they're in the playoffs. If they don't beat them, they're probably not going to make the playoffs, but there is a slim scenario where they could if they win this week. So at that point, they should go full balls to the wall. And Burns, what you said is true. My concern with Lawrence is probably a lot more to do with this might be finally the time that Etienne has a big game. I mean, it's the right defense to be going up against as a running back. But I feel like we all know and love these Jaguars offensive players, and we've been prospering. I feel like Zay Jones has been in my mouth every week of the season. You know what I mean? It took a few weeks from the beginning for him to start paying off, but we were talking Zay, from week 1. Evan Ingram been destroying leagues the last couple weeks. And actually, I found an interesting correlation. Like the Christian Kirk big games didn't correlate with big games from Trevor Lawrence, but the Zay Jones and Evan Ingram ones did. So I find those to be slightly better. So I love that play. The other one for me that I'm looking at, and I've got two that we didn't talk about. Number one, of course, I got to talk about Mike effing White. Mike fucking White. Sorry, YouTube. Demonetize this, bitch. I don't care. I don't give a shit. That's how it is. But Mike White getting back under the helm for the Jets. Bobby's like, he doesn't care. Seattle,
is this Geek McMath coming out here?
Yeah, Geek McMath is here. This new moniker, new name for the future, right? Seattle can score. Jets are favored in this game. Seattle can score. They can do their thing. They could keep up in this game. And more importantly, the Jets players are all so underpriced relative to production. If you're priced for Zach Milton at the helm and they switch it up to somebody who's not the worst quarterback ever to see an NFL field, those offensive players are mispriced relative to their potential outcomes. And it's so massive that you can stack Mike effing White with Garrett Wilson and one of Chris Moore or Davis or Elijah Moore or Taylor Conklin. By the way, let me show you guys something. You know who the worst team in the National Football League is against tight ends?
Seattle.
It's not Seattle. It's Miami, but Seattle's a close third at this point. I thought it was the worst. My point was not made as well as I was hoping just now, but still, they're really bad against the tight end. They're super red. Miami very bad as well. Keep in mind for that game. But Seattle really bad against the tight end position. Very good against wide receivers. I'm not going to worry that much about that though. I think they're good against wide receivers because they've been so terrible against running backs, but the Jets don't really have a dominant running game right now to lean on. So I think they're going to throw it with Mike White. He's cheap. You can get him. No worries. And the stacks are very, very inexpensive. You could do things with those stacks that you can't do if you're trying to use like Goff and Amon-Ra or more expensive combinations. The other quarterback that I'm on is, of course, Gardner Minshew. Now, we talked about Gardner Minshew last week on the show, and there was some sort of a bet where I said, like, this guy's going to smash this week. I don't remember. Do you remember the Fu Manchu bet? I did it, but I can't remember what the bet was.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I did rock the Fu Manchu for the Showdown Breakdown yesterday in honor of that. But I think Gardner Minshew does it the same this week. I think he's just as good. I think it's great. He's going up against a team with a good rush defense. They're going to have to throw. Why not throw it to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith? DFS Up North, of course, was whispering Devontae Smith in our ears all week. Of course, he then goes off again. What's up, Josh? The 3-for-3 video, Devontae Smith. Burns, by the way, your Millie Maker article last week was so on point. The fact that you're not on here just touting the calls is disturbing. Like, people, if you're not reading the Shark Tank, if you're not reading the Shark Lab article, I say Shark Tank in my head. If you're not reading that, you're missing out on some of the best info that you can ever get. So, yeah, my other guy is, of course, Gardner Minshew. I love it. Stack him up. Listen, if it was Hurts, I'd be interested. But Gardner Minshew, the price is cheaper. I love it, right? You're going to have to pay for more expensive wide receivers compared to Mike effing White. Lineup looks different. Devontae Smith priced up like scary, crazy high. Maybe too high. He's up at 7K, I believe, this week on DraftKings. That might be too much for me. But that's my other spot. All right, any other quarterbacks that we didn't talk about, guys, that you guys like this week that's maybe going under the radar?
I just wanted to ask briefly, and not a guy I like, but I'm just curious, did you at all for a second think about Jarrett Stidham at his price?
No, I did not.
Okay.
No.
It's a horrible matchup. Like,
it's horrible. Yeah, it's terrible.
The only thing I'm thinking about is 49ers defense.
Yeah, that's what came to my mind too. I just get so scared I can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, people are asking about Teddy Bridgewater, by the way. That's another one. I mean,
I don't hate that. I don't love him.
He's got good weapons.
You can make the argument for Teddy B.
I am looking for.
Remember we talked about how Minnesota's the place where quarterbacks go to have smash games that never should have them?
Yeah.
Teddy Bridgewater had a smash game earlier this season. It was against Minnesota. Like his one start against Minnesota, they went off. And I was like, oh, wait a minute. But I was like, oh, wait a minute. That was Minnesota. That's not the same as the Patriots. The Patriots need the win. Both of these teams are super playing to win the game.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I guess Bridgewater. I don't think I'm going to be on Bridgewater. I'm not.
Yeah, I'm looking for a softer matchup. I'm not afraid of Teddy B himself. Like I would play that. It's just the matchup's a little bit too tough for him.
Yeah, I mean, you can't play everyone. I'm tightening up my pool this week quite a bit. So I'm just going to say it as we're going to move on to running back in a second here. But I just like, for me, I'm probably going to fade Jones and Rodgers. You know, none of you guys mentioned Jones, and he was the third highest projected guy. I don't really get Daniel Jones or why you would want to play him in this spot against a team that's absolutely dead and will not score with Big Dick Nick. The only thing I'm interested in, Big Pick Nick. The only thing I'm interested in is Giants defense. I cannot believe they're running out Nick Foles again this week. Like, I have never seen. That's one of the worst. That's one of the worst quarterbacking performances I've seen this side of Zach Milton.
He's so bad. He's so bad.
Like, I want to pay for Giants defense, even if it's the most expensive. Burns, like, what level is it? Like, Kev, don't even do it because they're like priced up. I'm like, did you see him?
They're almost becoming chalk right now.
At 4K, like, it's the most expensive.
I hear a lot of people talking about the Giants defense right now.
How much
like,
are they? 3,900. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, this is an expensive ass defense, and they're going to end up, getting some ownership. Of course, we got the 49ers underpriced, so they're on DraftKings. They're going to be the defense that everybody wants because they accidentally priced them as if it wasn't Jared Studham as starting. And I mean, at 2,900, it's going to be the 49ers. But again, I don't really get the Daniel Jones thing. I don't see Aaron Rodgers crossing 20 fantasy points in any game this season. Period. It's not going to happen. I don't get it. There's only 4 or 5, and then of course, listen. I think the Russell Wilson thing is a tournament winner. I love that you guys brought it up because I think it's going to be so shocking if he does well. But he's done it a couple times this year, so it could happen.
Against the Chiefs, he's done it.
Yes, at home, but nonetheless, same matchup.
So easy to stack too, because Judy's going to play. Cortland Sutton is fully practicing again.
I think you guys are going to get me to. I think I'm now going to have to do it.
One more guy, quick. I know we spent way too much time on this, but Patrick Mahomes, we didn't talk about him enough. I feel like he's in play.
He is.
Well, if you think that Broncos are going to be competitive, then you damn well should expect that Mahomes will have to answer. Yeah, I'm fine with it. It's expensive, but we'll talk about the running back position and why we can afford to pay up at quarterback a little bit this week potentially. So let's start. I've once again got it sorted by projected ownership, but I think I'm going to sort by salary because I think that's more apropos for the running back position. And let's start at the top here with this top group, and I'll go around. Let's try to kind of go around the group here and tell me who you like from this top group and why not. And by top group, I'll say from CM Sizzles down to, let's say, Dalvin Cook, right? We'll call those 7K to 9K expensive running backs on the slate. And it's a tricky zone here. If we take a look over at projected ownership, we can see that McCaffrey's looking like he might get some ownership. And then it gets a little weird with Barkley and Connor for me as the next 2 highest owned, but maybe it's not weird. Maybe that's who it should be. So Burns, you look like you got something to say. So I'll start with you here. Who do you like from the pay up group at running back?
Well, Barkley is going to be chalky this week at the higher end of the slate because of the fact that you got so many DVOA guys out there that are just, that's all they look at is DVOA, and he's a DVOA machine. Like, Indianapolis is 27th against running backs this year. The
better measure than DVOA, which is fantasy points allowed. And let's get the Colts.
Minus 271. I mean, they're minus 2.71. So
they are bad.
They're bad. And he will probably have a decent game, but does he have 32 to 40 points in him this week? That's what we're trying to get here, right? At this high end, we're trying to get that 32 pointer or above. The guy I think that can do it. I mean, there's 2 that can do it. But the one that I really am going to have a good amount of ownership on is Eckler. I think he gets there. The Rams are perceived good defense, right? But they're very poor against the run. They're very poor against pass catching running backs too. How do we beat, or how does Eckler get all of his points in fantasy?
Yeah, he's got to catch passes, right?
He gets it through passing down situations. Yeah, he runs the ball, and he runs the ball near the goal line, and he gets touchdowns, but he's going to get them through the air this weekend.
So Burns, are we at all concerned about Eckler being limited? I know he got cleared from injury, but with this game not meaning as much?
I mean, that's always a possibility, right? I mean, we if he's clear to go, he's going to be a full go. He's not going to. They're going to spell him every now and again to Joshua Kelly, but he's going to be full go. But yeah, I just like Eckler this week. I think he's got a great matchup. But I know a lot of the ownership is going to gravitate towards Barkley, and it's going to gravitate towards CMC, who are just they are in a dream matchup for those two. So
couldn't ask for better. I mean, we already love both of those defenses as well, the Barkley and CMC defense, but of course they're both priced up really, really high. Josiah, what are you looking at? I mean, are you on the same guys? What are you looking at in the expensive zone? Eckler will not be high owned.
Where did you end the price range? Like, where's
7K.
the bottom side of it?
All the way down to Dalvin Cook.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so for me, I like Dalvin Cook, James Conner's interesting, and then I like Barkley and McCaffrey. I can't get off of them. I'm eating that chalk, but Conner's pretty chalky too. But then Dalvin Cook was starting to pop for me a little bit on this slate. I just like the matchup, and I feel like he's going overlooked. I think the passing attack is what Green Bay is pretty good at still stopping, but you can attack them via the run. So that's how I landed on Dalvin Cook.
There we go. BobbyWow, James Conner, 19% owned. Very high projection for a kind of an underdog team on the road with a horrible quarterback. Usually I like running. I mean, we saw what happened with Hassan Haskins last night. Like, when your team is losing, your running back usually isn't prospering. Although Connor's had a couple good games in recent weeks, like 3 or 4 good games in a row. Could he do it again?
Yeah, he certainly can do it again. I think this is a spot I'm looking to be underweight. James Conner has disappointed in these spots before. And when he's 20% owned, and I mean, that range in general, I look to avoid a guy like James Conner. So good spot. He could certainly do it again, but I'm going to be underweight.
Yeah, I think so too. What about this zone in general? Are you going to eat some chalk with CM Sizzles and Saquon here, or are you looking to pay down this week? Or what about Josh Jacobs? Against the number 1 rush defense in the league with a new quarterback, maybe that's contrarian.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Oh man, that's so tough. I think I'm in the same boat as these guys, as Josiah and Burnsy. Nothing really different on my end. I'm really intrigued by the Eckler call.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one I definitely wouldn't have been on. I think Chubb is a really bad play against Washington defense. Jacobs, I'm just not playing that expensive of a player against San Francisco rush defense. So I'm with you guys. And Aaron Jones, I'll come all the way down to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones has not been doing it lately. There's no way I want to pay up or feel good about that at all. I think Aaron Jones is the most overpriced running back on the entire slate relative to his normal role with the Packers. He's just not getting as many touches as you need to be a 7K running back. And Dalvin Cook is really interesting for me because we already talked about that being, quote unquote, a game with a lot of running in general. And yet no one's like, oh, I want to play Dalvin Cook. It's probably because he's burned us a lot this year.
That ceiling has not been there this year.
No. And so let's jump down to this next group. And like I said, I really like paying down at running back for the most part, or, at least one cheapie. I think the lineup construction, we didn't really talk about this. I've already started making lineups, and you're either using, I'm either using 2 cheap running backs or 1 cheapie and like trying to squeeze one of these types in there for other lineups. But that's been my approach. It's really interesting. There's a lot of salary savers, a lot of value available this week in other areas. But in the second zone here, so, Montgomery, Alvin, Ramondre Stevenson, 20, massive chalk. I just heard that Damian Snacks Harris is healthy for the Patriots. He'll be back. what's with this chalk on Ramondre? It got us almost a 0 last week. Then, of course, Travis Etienne's got the dream matchup against Houston. Walker, horrible matchup. Hell no. Cam Akers is going to be owned after last week's game. You don't play anybody, and you don't play running back.
It looks pretty low right now.
I don't know. Should he be though? Maybe he should be. If he's not going
6,100 isn't super cheap.
I think he should be higher owned.
Yeah,
but
I do
yeah.
too.
I'm starting him in my fantasy league, so I don't know. It's the championships.
I like
I'm playing him. But yeah, so let's talk about this zone here. Somebody asked about David Montgomery. My take here with David Montgomery, I like him less with Herbert back in general. But it's not like Herbert got a lot of looks last week, and he didn't look good. What happened to Herbert last week, Bobby Wow? Like, that dude was falling down when you breathed on him.
Yeah, I mean, I think Montgomery's the clear lead back. The problem is, if it was just weighing Montgomery and Herbert, it'd be one thing. But Justin Fields vultures too many touchdowns at that price for me to consider playing Montgomery at least at high exposure levels. So I'm off Montgomery for the most part. And Detroit has been really good against the run. So it just feels like there's too many reasons to not play him this week.
Yeah, except for last week when the Falcons or the Panthers, whoever they played last week, put up like 300 yards and ruined our points against sheet. Now they look bad on that sheet. Like, they're looking good for a minute. What about the rest of this zone? So, Bobby Wow, any other players here? Are you on Ramondre? Do you like Etienne? Where are you going here in this middling salary range? And let's go 6K to 5K. 7K to 6K DraftKings, because on 5K, I think there's a bunch of really interesting spots that I want to go over in depth.
Yeah, I think my favorite spot is Etienne. I mean, he's beautiful matchup. And I love him. I think he started catching more passes. I want to say last week he was more involved in the passing game. I think that continues. So Etienne for me is far and away the top guy in this range for me.
Josiah, same?
Yeah, I agree. I really like Etienne, and then I'll have a good chunk of Cam Akers too.
There we go. Burns?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it is Etienne this week for me.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, early in the week, I wasn't sure about Etienne because I wasn't sure if the Jaguars were just going to kind of tank it. But
there's a chance.
Yeah, but they're not. But obviously, they're not doing that. So I don't think they're doing that anyway. They're playing it. The coaches come out, said we're playing it. We don't care. And there is some reason that playoff reasoning that they should want to win. So I think they go all out to win this game just like any other. And, Houston, you just play running backs against Houston. DVP bros, what's up? Right? DVOA bros, what's up? All right. So let's now talk about this really juicy 6K and below running back zone, because there's a couple of really interesting spots here that I want to talk about. And it's almost too many to flip through. But Jerick McKinnon, I think he's exactly the same play he's been the last few weeks and probably for the last 2 seasons. He can go off. He might not. Last week he didn't. We all thought it was like I don't know. How do you feel about this, Bobby Wow? Last week we were all feeling all comfortable playing McKinnon because he was coming off 2 big weeks in a row. Now we're all like, I can't play McKinnon. He didn't score. But it's irrelevant what he did last week, isn't it? Shouldn't we play just as much McKinnon this week as we did last week?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, certainly the argument to play McKinnon, there's a couple. But for me, that Chiefs situation is still bizarre enough for me to be off McKinnon. So there's guys I like a lot more below his price this week.
Yeah, I'm just saying, why would he be 20% owned and then 3? And that's like, it's exactly the same roll. FanDuel doesn't have the Rams Chargers flex from Sunday night. Okay.
Yeah, I know what he's talking about. They're not on the main slate. They got Pittsburgh game on the main slate.
I'm sure they'll clean that up. Or I would think so. It's Friday, but you would think
it's been there since Monday. So
FanDuel. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. All right. So
That's good.
McKinnon, right? Miles Sanders, okay. Didn't do anything, but had a lot of carries last week. All right. Again, in the mix. 16% owned, though? Really? Is he one of your favorites? But am I missing something? Burns, is like Miles Sanders like somebody you're like, oh, I'm excited to play him this week? Or why is he so high owned? Why is that projection so high?
16.7 probably.
Yeah, what the hell's that?
That's a DVP number. number 20 on ours. But yeah, he's a DVOA guy this week. But it's tough. Philadelphia is number 1 against their offensive line's number 1, so they're gonna push people around on this offensive line. He's actually he's a decent play at his price point. Now, if he was in the 6K range, 6,500 to 6,800, I would be off of him. But since he's 5,800, he's actually a better play now. And I'm surprised he's that high owned. I thought he was going to be, when I was looking at him earlier in the week, I thought he'd be about 6.5%, 7% owned.
And that could be what's at the end. It's early still. It's Friday. We don't know where ownerships will go in the next few days. I'm just really surprised.
Yeah, and I just looked at a couple of things. I'm going to add one more in that 6 to 7K. I'm going to add Alvin Kamara in that game. I think Kamara, because of the fact that Philadelphia is so bad against pass-catching running backs, and Kamara is your ultimate pass-catching running back, that he can actually get it done this week.
Interesting. All right, let's go around. So talking about the sub 6K range, and I think there's some really great spots here. But Josiah, give me your favorite 2 plays under 6K at running back this week and why.
Well, I'll give you one first that I know you're not going to like. DeAndre Swift. I just like the spot. You can attack the Bears. So that's one. I'm still thinking through another one, so I'll let you guys go. I mean, I'll have some exposure to Foreman just because I have to, but I don't really love the spot or the matchup.
Yeah. All right. How about you, Burns? Who are you liking down here?
Since we got the news that Antonio Gibson's going to be out this week, I am going to be full go on Brian Robinson.
Yes.
It is a full load him up time. He has nobody else behind him. And so they were just going to feed him the ball, feed against this Cleveland Browns defense that is actually pretty decent against the wide receivers. But they're very bad against running backs. It's been that way all year.
This is the points against points for chart for Cleveland, allowing 5 points above mean expectation to the RB position. The only team worse is Houston. So if you want your DVP bro running back duo, you click ETN, you click Brian Robinson, you move on. I'm done.
Love that.
We're done.
Yeah, and I actually like that a lot of people are talking up Algier this week.
Yes.
Because I actually really like Robinson a lot more.
I like them both, by the way.
I like them
playing both.
Actually, I don't really like Algier this week because I think Cordell Patterson is going to get the most run in this game. I think you saw Algier have an extremely big game last 2 weeks ago. And then last week, he came back down to earth a little bit. I think Cordell Patterson's going to get significant run in this game. It's like a game that they really don't have anything to do. It's like they're not playing for anything really. And then they got their rookie. So I don't know. It's just one of those games, that the NFL, everybody's talking about Algier. And then all of a sudden, guess what? 35% of the Millie Makers done because Algier doesn't get any run. He gets some run, but not as much as you want to pay off on his salary at 5.3K. When you got $100 more, Cordell Patterson is just like, hello. It's just like that ding, ding, ding bell going off. You're like, God damn it. I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah. Bobby S, I'll answer your question. And then BobbyWow, I want your favorites from this zone here. And then I have some thoughts about it as well and some ways to get unique. But yeah, I mean, is he a full lock? We don't lock players for the most part. I don't think anybody is ever a full lock. But for me and Burns, for me, Brian Robinson Jr. at this point with no Gibson, favored against the worst or second worst rush defense in the league at home. That's a core play. That's a play that you're going to build around. Like when you see me building lineups or when we kind of do our lineup building during the Players Club, and there's like you click the same 3 or 4 names every single time you kind of start, you build around a core, and then you switch it up a little bit. That guy's going to be one of those names I'm just auto clicking every single lineup because of the price, the situation, the high floor. Don't know he's going to be the highest scoring running back. Don't need him to be, but I feel like how does he not score 10 points? Points against chart is pinned to my channel in the DFS Army Discord if you want to access it and use it, and you should. It is one of the best tools for DFS that there is, period. End of sentence. So it's pinned to my channel in the DFS Army Discord. BobbyWow.
Yes, I love Brian Robinson. I think I'll be in the 40 to 50% exposure range on him. I really like the Swift call. The Bears are really susceptible to guys like DeAndre Swift. I think he's going to have a ton of receptions. If he finds the end zone, look out for him to be in the nuts. I like Lenny Fournette. I think playoff Lenny is back. I think the Bucs need him. They know they need him. And we saw that last week. Lenny doesn't even need to find the end zone to pay off at this price. But he's probably the other guy in this range that I'm targeting the most.
Makes sense.
Here's my thought, and I love your call on Uncle Lenny. I love the call, of course, on Brian Robinson. I like Algier more than you do, Burns, just because I think they're going to destroy, not beat, but destroy the Cardinals. I think they're going to crush them. So, like, I like it. I like pairing up. I like when I think the team's going to win and have a good defense. I like that running back. But here's my, like, for a strategic play, because notice all of the things that we just said, right? There's so many players to like in this zone. We didn't even talk about, there's more. Like Isaiah Pacheco's hanging out in this range. He's playable. Donta Foreman, you mentioned him, Josiah, Miles Sanders, all playable guys. Even Rashad White. Sometimes Rashad White outscores Uncle Fat Lenny, right? That can happen too. Cam Akers, and of course, Travis Etienne at 6K. And what they all have in common is they're all super cheap. The field wants to play cheap running back stud or cheap stud, right? Stud. That's how so every lineup looks kind of the same because it's like, oh, I plugged in Robinson and Christian McCaffrey, and then I built a lineup, and they all kind of look the same because you don't have a choice. They end up looking the same because of the when you set your variables a certain way, the rest of the lineup all kind of is similar. So I think the play this week is cheap, no stud, 3 cheap. You want to, if you hang in this zone for running back and you don't venture up into the shining, the shining fruit up in the tree, like the McCaffrey, the expensive, the Ecklers, but you just make multiple bargain running back plays, your lineup will look super different from the field. You know, you can now have a lineup that has Travis Kelce in it. Oh, okay. Or you can have lineups that have Justin Jefferson in them. Pretty nice, right? If he goes off. So your lineups will just look different. So I like double cheap running back or even triple because there's enough of these guys. And again, I love the Lance Murray call, but I think Foreman, Robinson Jr. is a build around. No one talked about Zani Knight. I don't think I can go there.
It's an interesting spot.
I thought about him, but
Carter, man.
He was in this spot. He was in this spot probably about 3, maybe 4 weeks ago, and he dudded so bad. I don't know if the run's there. I don't know if he gets enough run.
It's hard. It's hard for me to pull that. Even me. It's going to be hard to pull that trigger. BobbyWow, Zani Knight, no go.
No. He's the timeshare is too much for me. So he's double-digit ownership. No, there's too many guys in this range that I like a lot more.
Yeah, and I don't think that double-digit ownership will hold now that Brian Robinson will elevate himself to by the time, because this news was recent, by the time it's Sunday, Brian Robinson's going to be like 28% owned. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that he will be the chalkiest of them all. And if he's not, thank our lucky stars.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I hope not. I hope they make Daniel Jones and Aaron Rodgers the chalk again. Remember, we've had so many weeks like this on this show where we're like, okay, you want to do that? Good for you. Let's do our thing. And it's worked almost every time, except for one time when Kirk Cousins wound up going off on the 3-game slate. Oops. But for the most part, it's worked out pretty well. So, yeah, I mean, Zach, no. Any interest in these Dolphins running backs at all, guys? No,
they're going into a really difficult situation up in New England.
I'm not touching that. All right, let's hammer through the wide receiver position, and we're going to do this. Let's kind of stick with the same format here. We'll go around. I'm going to go around. We'll talk the stud zone here. Each one of you will give me sort of your favorite play between 9,500 and 7K. Just pick one. for this elite group, and I'll shit on the rest of them. So I'll take care of shitting on the other ones because that's what I like to do. So Burns, start us off. I mean, you got Jefferson, Tyreek Hill with Teddy Bridgewater, Devontae Adams under Stidham.
This is such a nice week with these stud guys, right? You know, Jefferson going up against Jair Alexander's tough matchup on paper. For me, I'm gravitating on my majority of my early week builds has been to Amon-Ra and Waddle this week. I think Waddle can go up into New England, even with Teddy Bridgewater, and have a good game. He's had really good games the last 2 weeks. He's seen really good target share the last 2 weeks, and I think it's going to continue to be the same for him. But if I had to pick one, it's Amon-Ra all day long.
I like it. All right, Josiah, how about you?
Yeah, I'm boring too. Amon-Ra, he just makes a lot of sense here. If I was going to pivot, I have AJ Brown too with my Minshew stacks, and that's about it.
Yeah,
Waddle's interesting though. Interesting.
The Minshew stack. BobbyWow. I mean, Amon-Ra is obviously, I think, the chalk, right? He's going to be the guy that's the highest owned. Are you paying up for Justin Jefferson here? How are you working it?
I think it's Tyreek Hill for me.
Oh,
Tyreek Hill and Teddy B seem to have some mojo. I believe the first time Teddy B started, Tyreek Hill was targeted 14 times, had 10 catches. And I think the second time on against the Vikings, which they stink, but he had 15 targets and 12 catches.
Yeah,
Teddy B, there's some chemistry between Teddy B and Tyreek Hill that I want a piece of. So he's the guy I would choose.
I love that call. And so, you know, in this zone, of course, yeah, Justin Jefferson at the top. He's always a good play if you can afford 9,500. I think we will be if we do the double cheap running back / cheaper quarterback setups this week. Yeah, there was some shit talk between Jair Alexander and Justin Jefferson and blah, blah, blah. But again, that was inside the temperature-controlled confines on the beautiful carpet in Minnesota. This is outdoors in the cold. I don't know how cold it's going to be. It does not, based on that game total, it does not seem like a wind game. Like that doesn't seem to be, it's not going to be like the frozen tundra in December. Seems like it's just going to be like kind of like a normal good football conditions day in Green Bay. Of course, that can change. Devontae Adams is, to me, unplayable.
He is now.
Yeah. DeAndre Hopkins, unplayable. Jalen Waddle, pretty much unplayable as well. So, I mean, there's not that many options. Yeah, no, I don't think I wouldn't play Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle's got the connection with Tua. He's the Tua guy.
Just for the record, too, Jair Alexander's overrated. I just want to say that out loud. Not just because he's a Packer. JJ is going to stomp all over him.
You know what? JJ is going to stomp all over any cornerback. There's one of the things I've been talking about all year is like good cornerback. Like even he's better than good elite corners. Like he's better than they are. So like there's a certain point where this is a lot of Burns. Actually, this is a lot of your research on the cornerback. You're like, yeah, that corner's good, but this wide receiver is better at being a wide receiver than that dude. It still slows you down though. Like having an elite cornerback on you probably limits your ceiling a little bit. So that's what that is. Yeah, 38 in sunny Green Bay, perfect. I mean, you can't ask for better football conditions. 38 degrees, not windy. It's just going to be a good day for football there. Hence the Aaron Rodgers chalk. But yeah, at the top group, the biggest shocker for me is Devontae Smith creeping up over 7K on DraftKings this week. You know, he had the big week last week. I will only play him if DFS Up North whispers his name gently in my ear. That's the only way, because it's gotten to, I love Gardner Minshew, but man, I'd generally rather play AJ Brown than Devontae Smith.
I think he's in the 10 for 10.
Smith made it.
I think so. I think he made it again.
Oh boy.
Let me verify. I'll verify right now.
I might have to play him. All right, let's slide down to the middling group. Obviously, anybody can play stud wide receivers. You know, just don't play Devontae Adams with Stidham or DeAndre Hopkins with Blau.
He made the 10 for 10. I just checked.
Yeah. One thing DFS Up North also likes to do is go back to the play that worked last week, apparently. He's right back on it. But all right, so let's talk this next group down. A couple of potential injury situations. I don't think there's a ton of playable spots here. So for me, this area is a bit of a wasteland. the 7K really to 6K zone, which is usually where I'm living at wide receiver. It feels like a wasteland to me, but you guys correct me if I'm wrong. So once again, and I'll flip the order here. I'll go to you first this time, Burns. Actually, BobbyWow, I'll go to you first this time. So second tier wide receiver group, right? We got Keenan Allen at the top, DK Metcalf up against Jets. Not a good scene. Chris Godwin, Williams, Tyler Lockett, Q-tag, maybe he comes back. Who knows? Jerry Jeudy, I know you like Russell Wilson a little bit. Jerry Jeudy got that Q-tag. Don't know what's up. Somebody mentioned Brandon Ayuk earlier. Pittman, no Pittman. Don't play Pittman. But in this zone here, the 7K to 6K, are you into anybody? This is like, I feel like it's a wasteland.
Yeah, I'm not going to take Burns this guy, but I think that's the best guy in here. Jerry Jeudy. No, not Burns guys and Jeudy, but Jerry Jeudy Q-tag is going to be, I think that ownership will be relatively accurate. And that is a steal. That's a steal for Jerry Jeudy. The other guy is Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mike Evans is really that's as low as I've ever seen his price tag, and I understand it. It makes sense, but man, 6,500 for Mike Evans against a poor passing defense. Sign me up for that.
Yep.
All right, that's fair. Josiah, what are you thinking?
Yeah, those are my two favorite wide receivers on this slate are Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. So
really, in this zone, I'm assuming, not on this whole slate.
Yeah, in this zone. Yeah, in this zone.
Not on the slate. They're not good.
Good correction.
You just want to target your beloved Panthers and feel.
Yeah, I like feeling pain. You know,
you just like suffering. That's what's going on here.
Yeah.
Burns, how about you? You liking this zone here? Because for me, I don't like it.
I as I talked about earlier, Ayuk is in a great spot this week. I think he's significantly going to go under owned, and I think it's going to be a fault to the field, especially in the Millie Maker. I think he's actually going to be a lot less owned in the Millie Maker than 5.9%. I love Jerry Jeudy as well this week. I think you need ownership in Chris Godwin this week, and you need ownership in Mike Evans. And you need to pair them. You could actually do a skinny stack with them two together. You don't actually have to have Tom Brady in there and get all the goodness. So if you don't like Tom Brady as a quarterback this week, just go with his pass catchers and go with Evans and Godwin. I also like Christian Kirk because I'm on that Jacksonville game. So I'll have some Kirk this week, only because of that. But I do like Zay Jones a lot more than Kirk this week. So,
okay, yeah. I'm glad you mentioned Christian Kirk. That was one of the names I was going with. I agree with you though. I like the other two pass catchers for the Jaguars a little bit more. I have Christian Kirk more as like a tournament only, like pivot. Like he's more of an alternate. For me, that's leverage. Right. I'm leveraging Christian Kirk because he has not had the good games with T-Law, but most people will play Zay Jones or Evan Ingram, so you can play a little bit of that. Terry McLaurin, no one mentioned him, and I think he's acceptable in that spot as well. Obviously, we all think that the Commanders are going to run heavy in that game, and they should and they will. But, I don't know. The other guy is Carson Wentz. That is now the quarterback, I think, of the Commanders this week.
He is.
Yeah. And Kevin Bohr is asking the right question. What about Cortland Sutton for a lot cheaper than Jerry Jeudy?
I love Sutton as well.
Yeah.
Both those guys.
Yep.
Yeah. We got to get to that next level, but I agree. What I don't like is DK Metcalf going up against Sauce. It's not my thing. Sauce Gardner, very, very good. I think that's a little too expensive for Keenan Allen for my taste as well. He just does not have 4x 7K salary in him at all, or I haven't seen where he's able to do that. And Mike Williams, I guess a little bit here, just because Mike Williams can pop off. Mike Williams will shock you with a GPP win. These are very GPP only, large field. Like Mike Williams will just one day have a 38 pointer, and you're like, wow, I can't believe I forgot to play Mike Williams this week. But I'm glad he led me to a fantasy football championship, even though I forgot to play him in DFS. You know what I mean? Like that's Mike Williams. He just pops off like crazy every once in a while for us. All right, let's go down to a little bit in the bargain zone and talk about, again, this is another spot where I really like the place. I really like a lot of the names here, a lot of the spots. I'll start us off this time, and we're going to talk like under 6K down and 6K, and we'll call it the bargain, but not the cheapest, 6 to 4K, because I got some 3K guys too. But there's a lot of names here, but Garrett Wilson for me is my top guy in this zone. You get Mike Effin White at the QB position, 11 targets, 9 targets, 7 like he was peppered with targets in Mike White starts. He's been peppered with targets just generally. But the best part for me is Seattle is actually good against the pass. Like, I'll give it to them. But that's mainly because they're so bad against the run that it's been harder to throw, or maybe vice versa. But I don't even think it matters. I'm getting
a
W.
really be that popular?
What's that?
Do you think he'll really be that popular? Like 24%?
I do think he's going to be very popular because this is the only spot of all of these names where you're getting the WR1, the clear alpha on a team with in a good passing scenario for under 6 or 7K. Like what's bad about Garrett Wilson? The only thing that he's got going on is like they priced him for Zach Wilson, but he's got somebody better than that. When Mike White was quarterback in the Jets, Garrett Wilson was on a path to 7K salary on DraftKings. Like within a week or two, he was going to be a 7K player. And I think if he played 3 weeks with Mike White, in week 3 already, he would be 7K, 7,200, right up there with Keenan Allen, those guys. So why not take the discount? That's what I'm thinking. I'm accepting it. Take the discount. I like all the Jets guys, but that one really stands out for me. This zone as well. So I'm not going to take names that you guys have mentioned because I want you to talk those guys out. But when we go now below 5K, also some good spots. But obviously, my favorite is going to be DJ Shark, who I think is supremely a great. We've been rolling with the Shark, like I feel like at home, especially all season, and it's been working out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been working out.
That's criminal for him to be that low owned.
It's silly, right? Like, of course
So
what's
cheap.
the ownership projection for him? What? This will go up. This will go up.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go around, guys. So I gave a couple of plays I like: 5K play, 4K play. BobbyWow, how you looking?
Yeah, I think for me, I love Lazard, Cortland Sutton. Those are my 5K guys. I think Brandon Cooks is really intriguing. Now that Davis Mills is back, that's really cheap for Brandon Cooks against a really bad pass defense. And then 2 other guys I'll mention. You mentioned Chark. I love Chark. But Chase Claypool, I mentioned him earlier. I like Claypool a lot. I think his upside is really good at this price. And that's a spot I'll be targeting as well.
Okay, yeah, it's Claypool. I mean, again, these are. I love that you're bringing up these names. Like, definitely not names I was thinking about. So obviously, let's watch for the Q tag and let's see what the situation is. But wouldn't it be amazing if Claypool finally started paying off last couple of weeks of the season? So I hope it happens, and I'll get some exposure if he does play. Burns,
one quick thing too, just on the Chark play, the Bears. There are only 2 players left on defense, Jaquan Brisker and Kyler Gordon. They will be shading Amon-Ra. And I think that chalk is scary to me. So I love the pivot. I love the call, Geek, to pivot to Chark. I think he will have ample opportunities.
I mean, let me get this right. Jeffro Mo Green makes a really good point here. And I didn't even think of this.
It's where I was going.
So
it was it all right. So Burns, go there because it didn't even occur to me. Yeah. Remember when I was talking about cheat code Curtis Samuel early in the season?
That was a thing for a long time.
Yeah, it was like when Wentz was the quarterback, and then it ended as soon as Wentz stopped being the quarterback. Could it be another cheat code Curtis Samuel 11 target situation? How much? Where's he priced? 4,400.
Yeah,
that's not bad.
That didn't even occur to me. I like it.
Yeah,
Burns,
he's gonna
like here.
Curtis Samuel was one, only because Wentz is coming back and they had a connection like we were talking about. I actually like Jacoby Myers again this week. I liked him last week. He did well last week. But I like him against Miami. I think him in the slot against Miami is just a really good matchup. So I think him at 5K or 5K? Yeah. He's going to be pivot off of some of the higher owned guys that are in and around that range, but he's going to be owned himself because people know that he's in the slot and Miami's not very good against slot receivers. So that'll be another one of mine.
I like it. I like that you hung in the 4K range the whole time with your plays as well. Josiah.
Yeah, I loved absolutely every name that BobbyWow said. Brandon Cooks is a good one. I think the only guy that I haven't heard yet is Drake London. He's been getting targeted a ton, so he's just viable. Not someone that I love, but just another viable receiver for me.
Yeah, I mean, he's fine. He is getting. I mean, it's funny. Ritter's throwing like 15 targets a game. Like 9 of them are going to London. Like he's not throwing a lot.
It
But when he
seems
does
unreal, but somehow
it's like the most interesting man in the world. Like I don't throw a lot, but when I do throw, I throw it to Drake London. Right? That's who he throws to. Yeah, I mean, there's a couple other names here. Any interest at all? So I don't think it's a good scene, but somebody in the chat was like, Deshaun Watson, big week coming up and blah, blah, blah. People's wide receiver, maybe Amari Cooper or no. Washington defense is pretty good. Let me see if you can see it on the screen. You can. I mean, you could throw on them, but you can't run on Washington. Really tough. That's why Chubb no good. You can throw a little bit. I guess they're not specifically good against the wide receiver, allowing slightly below average. So if they're moving the football, if the Browns are having success at all, it's probably going to be through the air. And no one's going to play Cooper or Peoples-Jones. I'm not really recommending it. I'm just saying, thinking, no one's going to play those guys.
If you're playing Deshaun Watson at 5 to 10%, that's probably the only scenario I'm playing those two guys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I'm not playing Watson. Not against a good defense at all. We didn't mention because he had been mentioned earlier, but a couple other names I just want to mention that I'm interested in, and we'll certainly I like a lot. Zay Jones, of course, we mentioned him earlier. I love Zay Jones. In the spot you mentioned Alan Lazard, I'm all about that. Romeo Doubs is very playable as well. If Christian Watson sits out, and it looks like he will be out this week. It does not look like Christian Watson, C. Watts, will play. So, keep it in mind.
That's a nice salary saver off of Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So you get Doubs for 4,700 only if Watson doesn't play. And of course, all the Giants random names, Hodgins, Rick James, Slayton, they're all, I think, acceptable plays. One other zone I want to talk about here, all the way down in the cheapie zone, 4K and below. And there are going to be some names here that are super viable as well. And I always like cheapies that can go off, guys. So I'm going to mention a couple. It's funny. I wasn't even really thinking of this guy, but Rashid Shaheed at 4K.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
He's the WR1.
Yeah.
He's getting all the targets for his team. Not a good scene, but I mean, why not?
A lot of it, he's probably going to be out this week.
Yeah. There's no one else.
Yeah, no.
The other one, though, I mean, both of the Jets guys, I think, are really, really good plays. Elijah Moore got a bunch of targets with Mike White at the helm. The only thing that concerns me with Elijah Moore at 3,500, Stoneman, super cheap, only 6% owned, is what if it's Chris Davis or Corey Davis? What if it's Corey Davis that winds up getting all the looks? So I like both of these guys, not together in the same lineup necessarily, but in my mix. Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Mike F. White, the whole crew. You can get $3,500 guys. If you want to try to fit some studs in the rest of your lineup, I like the 4K range better, but you have some 3K options that are reasonable here.
I love it.
Yep.
And do you have anybody that you guys want to bring up in this zone? Equinemios.
Brian mentioned in the chat that Pringle, if Claypool doesn't play, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Pringle, could be Equinemios.
Yeah.
Could be Pettis. There's
be
a lot of turds. A lot of turds.
Yeah, it's a lot of sketchiness. Burns, anybody down here that interests you a whole lot, or did we cover them all? Tutu Atwell.
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe Tutu Atwell. He's popping on the DS right now, so yeah, maybe him too.
He always pops because he's so cheap, and he's the WR2 on his team. He's on the field 95% of the snaps.
Yeah, Greg Dortch is the only other guy for me. He's stone cold min price. Hopkins is going to be, I think he's going to be out. And even if he's not, Dortch played like 90% of the snaps last week. So terrible quarterback situation, but at 3K, he's worth taking a few shots on.
So I'm just going to share a little Greg Dortch story before we move on to tight end. But I was back testing, after the 3-game slate this past weekend, I'm back testing it, of course, to try to figure out what the settings and all of that good stuff, right? The Nuts didn't even have Greg Dortch in it. Greg Dortch went crazy on that 3 games. No one played him. No one. To the point where the tournament winning lineup, it's not that the Nuts had him, but the tournament winner didn't because no one played him to the extent. That's how unplayed he was. And there was no scenario of settings that you could have messed with that was going to squeeze Dortch into a lineup for you. It just didn't happen.
Very true.
Yeah. There's no, and it was funny for anybody. No one in the entire world of DFS bothered to play that guy. It's so funny.
Yeah. When we didn't know, the quarterback situation we know now with Arizona, but when I was thinking it was going to be Colt McCoy, I was kind of tossing back and forth Hollywood Brown too. So, but now that we know who the quarterback is, and it's definitely not Colt McCoy, I'm off of him. So.
Yeah, no, not down with that. All right, let's talk a little bit of tight end here, guys. Especially because, I think defense is so obvious, we can just knock that out. So, just real quick, we'll cover the tight end position here. Travis Kelce, the expensive guy. Burns, are we paying up at tight end? Or does it make sense to pay up for Kelce?
I will be. I don't know about other people, but I will.
So we have so much value now. We can actually do this.
Yeah, Kelsey's he's the mainstay if you want to go with Mahomes this week. I don't really think you have to have Mahomes with 2 this week. I think you can just go Mahomes and Kelsey and be fine if you wanted to stack up Mahomes. Yeah, he's probably my number 1. Like if you wanted to go above a certain threshold on your tight ends this week, but I have others.
Nice. George Kittle been smashing with, George Kittle's been smashing with Deebo Samuel out. I think it continues. I'm down with George Kittle. I like the contrarian play that you guys talk about with Ayuk, but I really like Kittle as well. I think, he's just got a history of doing really well whenever Deebo is out for his team. I don't see why that changes. Hawkinson, I don't know.
All reliable. He's been really very consistent this season.
Yeah, I mean, he's been around to check the Packers against the tight end position. I didn't see anything that stood out. Yeah, I mean, nothing stands out here. They're pretty average. So, yeah, TJ Hawkinson's all right as well. But, usually it's either you pay up or you're kind of in a mid zone or you pay down. So, a couple other names that I'm really interested in. Then you guys tell me kind of how you're looking at it. Cole Kmet for me is only with Justin Fields, but I definitely like Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram, is he a stud? Is Evan Ingram going to be a top 5 tight end draft pick next year?
Beware. This is a letdown spot for Evan Ingram.
Nice, good. We need
20%. Oh my! He's cheap. He's too cheap, but 20% projected ownership for Evan Ingram.
Is he really going to be that high?
That's what
Remember when he used to drop every pass?
I think he will be.
Yeah, I remember playing him in DFS last year. Freaking sucked. But I'm okay with the fade. I like it.
What would BobbyWow do? He's like, I'm unfriending, but you got to play him with Trevor Lawrence. Maybe just not as a standalone.
Yeah, I agree.
You got to play him with a little T-Law, but yeah, that is some high ownership. I'm going to give you some sneaky ones that I like, though. I mean, it's really just one. I feel like I'm on such a fucking repeat mode. You know who it's going to be, right?
Is it Conklin?
Yep.
Yeah, it's Tyler Conklin.
Of course it's Conklin.
It's Tyler Conklin.
Mike White having a Patrick Mahomes day.
Did I become predictable today with my Mike White love? Is that what happened?
Conklin's a great play, Geek. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were really bad. There is no worse team. Again, they're really, really bad against the tight end. I'm not going to say there's no worse. Let me bring up the chart and make sure first. Sometimes I do a Trumpian all-inclusive statement that's not actually true, and I don't want to do that. So let's see. Seattle, 3.4. So, I mean, they're really, really bad against the tight end this season. You attack Seattle with your tight ends. Conklin got a ton of targets from non Zach Milson quarterbacks on the Jets. As long as it hasn't been Wilson, he's been getting some decent targets. 2,900, super cheap. I've got another one though, and you guys aren't going to like it. Assuming Hunter Henry is out, which I believe he is out.
No, he's not out yet.
That's
still questionable.
Oh,
but
okay.
he was my guy. So
yeah,
right, I'm not ready to make the call. If Hunter Henry is out, are we like Jonnu Smith against this Dolphins team?
Jonnu Smith is out.
Wait, Smith is out?
Smith is out for sure. He's on IR.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's awkward.
Hunter Henry practiced yesterday, limited, but he practiced. I think the Patriots do everything they can to make sure he plays. He is in an awesome spot. I love Hunter Henry if he plays.
Q-tag, knee, limited fashion. Didn't play last week. Okay, we'll see. Any other tight ends that you guys are looking at on the slate? Tyler Higbee's got a Q-tag. Don't know what the story is there as of right now, but he's done pretty well on his team with no other pass catchers. They've been throwing to Higbee a lot, and it's Baker Mayfield, like, semi-competent quarterback throwing to him. If he played, I think I'd be interested. Dallas Goedert's another name that, while it's the worst matchup on the board for the tight end position, I don't care because Goddard to Goddard is a thing, and I like it. It rhymes. God mode, I call it. Godner to Goddard.
Jesus.
No? No one else wants a piece of that? Come on, man. Zylstra, Mr. 5 cents, like five touchdowns last week for Zylstra. Let's go right back to it. You know what? You're right. Zylstra. No, he's right.
Yeah.
That has to be on your list.
Yeah, it happened.
Yes. Hold on. Let me make an argument for Zylstra because we all think it's a donkey play to play Zylstra. But is it? Because the fact that all of us just thought that and we're like, we're not playing Zylstra. I mean, number one, he's not going to be owned.
Yeah, not at 1% ownership. It's not a donkey play.
Yeah, he's not going to be owned.
No.
We all want to play Jared Goff. He's the chalk this week. He is the chalk. Josiah, is this not the ultimate? Is this not another ultimate leverage?
It is.
spot?
I love playing guys that make me feel uncomfortable. Like every time I'm playing a guy, I'm like, I like him. I'm like, oh, that feels bad. So yeah, I'm down.
This is leverage. Everybody's gonna, you want to stack Goff with two, right? So you're like, oh, I'll do Chark and Amon-Ra and Amon-Ra and Chark and Amon-Ra. And then you're like, wait, they only have two guys. If I'm stacking with two, I can't even think. Every single lineup has Chark and Amon-Ra. What? Wait, that's no good, right? You can't do that. So mix in Swift. All right. Who's the WR3? I don't freaking know. Josh Reynolds? I'm not even sure who their WR3 is at this point.
Wiz Khalif.
The Khalif. Josh Reynolds. I don't want any of those guys. Shane Zylstra. Coming off the 3 touchdowns. The reality is, if he's going to get 6 targets, I don't even need 3 touchdowns. At 2,900, yeah, sure, that broke the slate open. But what if he got 26 yards and 1 touchdown?
Yeah, you just have to know what you're signing up for. Like, there's just as much a chance he gets a 0 or a 1, but you're chasing the upside, so it's fine. And so it's not super chasing. I
don't want a lot of it, but a couple shares just in case he has another touchdown or 2. Yeah, he's the guy. He's starting for them.
Yeah. It's good.
Gets a couple targets each week. I'm fine with it. Plus, I'm trying to stack those guys. All right, let's wrap it up here. I don't even need to talk about defense. You're playing the 49ers, play the Giants, play the defenses against the fucking shitty quarterbacks, guys. Come on, smarten up. There's nothing else to do here. You play you start with the 49ers. That's your first click. The Falcons, fine. The Patriots, teams that are going up against shitty quarterbacks.
The Giants against Big Pick Nick.
The Giants against Big Pick Nick is the most lock button. This is the rare occasion where you should pay up at defense. Don't worry about it. I've never seen anything, and I'm not even playing Woods Swoop because I've never seen anything as bad as Big Pick Nick out there just looking like he does not belong on like he was looking like, why are they starting me? I was here to get paid to be a backup. I was not expecting to get in the game, and I don't want to. Like at least yesterday with that dude who started for Tennessee, he was like, yeah, finally getting my chance. He was excited to play. Big Pick Nick was like, why am I here, dude? I'm supposed to be running the scout team and getting my million. I don't want to be here one bit. So anyway, that'll do it for this one, guys. Tournament tactics. Remember, we still have our promo code going at DFS Army. Promo code Christmas gets you 50% off your first month. So check it out if you like. We're trying to get to 10,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel. If you stayed with us this long, please hit the subscribe button. We're trying to get there before year end. I got 2 days left. We're at like 9850. We're so close. We got about 150 subs left till we get to 10,000. Why 10,000? No special reason. I just think it's a nice number. So we're trying to get to 10K. Hit that subscribe button so you know when these videos are coming out. We appreciate you guys being with us all throughout the season. Week 17, let's crush it. I'll be back for DFS Army VIP subscribers tomorrow. Players Club, VIP only. We're going to make lineups. They're all going to have Mike White in them. Just forewarning. Forewarn. No, we'll do some other ones too, but mostly Mike White lineups. And that will do it for this one. We will see you guys next week on the last, regular season tournament tactics of the year. And then, of course, the playoffs. Exciting. Good times. I will see you guys next time. Good luck, everyone.